Problems on my end. I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So welcome again. I think some of you might have rocked in here at the last minute. Glad to see everybody and have your presence here. So the title of my little talk tonight, if I were going to title it, would be The Rock and the Feather, which is a metaphor, of course, and I'll explain that in just a minute. Last week, we talked about the why, mostly the why of meditation. Meditation as an aid and support in confronting suffering and understanding suffering and making sense of suffering. Meditation is a way to cultivate peace within ourselves, in our minds, in our hearts, and a way to offer that peace to the world. That's some of the why of meditation. And tonight, I would like to talk more about the how of meditation, of meditative practice, and go into a little more detail and tunnel down just a little bit more, a little further down. And I want to share with you something that I use to help me develop the kind of awareness that we are looking for when we practice. So I have two items that I keep. These two items here on my altar, right next to my meditation cushion. These are sort of a reminder for me and an inspiration, both. I have the rock, if you can see this, yes, and the feather. So let me first explain how I came into possession of these two helpful items. The rock, I hope you can see this. I'm not sure you can, but it has beautiful striations on it. It's very smooth. Oh, let me hold it here. There we go. And these lines and striations on the rock were caused by water. This was resting in the Green River, very wild and natural river in Utah, where I rafted a long time ago. And I wanted to bring a piece of the river home with me, which there's maybe not kosher, but I had to have a piece of the river. So I brought this rock, this nice, smooth, beautiful rock. And it, to me, connects with what is usually known as a very common analogy for sitting meditation. To describe sitting meditation, we talk about sitting like a mountain. You might remember last week when I described the sitting posture, the physical sitting posture, as a position of nobility and steadiness. And so that is sitting like a mountain or a rock. There's a line that I remembered for years from the movie Little Buddha. If any of you have seen that, it contains scenes of the Buddha's life, and it has a storyline about a Tibetan Lama who is reincarnated. And they describe this Tibetan Lama as a meditation master, and they describe how he practices as saying that he can sit like a mountain, serene and unmovable. And I also want to read you, as we're talking about and thinking about sitting like a mountain and the steadiness of that. These are some words from Sharon Salzberg, who is a Vipassana meditation teacher, a very beloved teacher, and she talks about this image of sitting like a mountain. Sharon says, "Sit like a mountain, sit with a sense of strength and dignity. Be steadfast, be majestic, be natural and at ease in awareness. No matter how many winds are blowing, no matter how many clouds are swirling, no matter how many lions are prowling, be intimate with everything and sit like a mountain. This is an image of equanimity. We feel everything without exception, and we relate to it through our own strength of awareness, not through habitual reactions. So practice sitting like a mountain, allowing all images and feelings and sensations to come and go as you reside in steadfastness, watching it all arise and pass away. So for me, this rock, which came out of the waters of that roaring, tempestuous river, is like a mountain. It's steadfast and it's serene in the midst of all of that chaos and storm. So there we have the rock, the equanimity of sitting, of your sitting posture. Now the feather, all right, the second item. Can't tell you where I got this feather. I'm sure I just picked it off the ground somewhere. I'm a veteran picker-upper of feathers. Whenever I find them, they seem like little messengers from above. So I love to find these, and I treasure them when I do. So this one came from somewhere. And for me, the feather represents the state of awareness that we're looking for in meditation. The feather is lightweight, so there's that, the lightness of it. It's substantial, it has mass, it has physicality to it, but it's very light. It's kind of the opposite, right, of the heaviness of the rock or the mountain. Our attention, when we're meditating, the attention itself has a presence. It's there, but it's very light. Light as air. And then there's the very tip of the feather, the very, very end of the feather. And this is when our awareness or our attention during meditation touches the object. It has a precision to it when it touches the object. So what do I mean when I say the object? The object is whatever our attention is resting on in any given moment. It might be an in-breath, might be an out-breath, might be an awareness of a thought that bubbled up, might be a feeling, emotional state that washes over us as we sit. Sometimes there's happiness, sometimes there's a sadness, sometimes there's restlessness. But whatever the attention is resting on, it's like the very tip of this feather just barely touching that object. Very light touch, but very precise, very on point. And that precision of attention, that's what we call concentration or samadhi in meditation. That very light and yet precise touch. I'm trying to get it so you can see it. Light little touch of the feather. So you have the rock, which is the solidness, the serenity, the equanimity, and you have the feather, which is the concentration of the awareness and the attention. So you have equanimity and you have concentration, and those are really the two qualities or skills that we're working on and developing when we meditate. So that's about all I have to say on that. What I'd like you to do now is just to settle in, do any little wiggles or adjustments that you need to make so that you're comfortable. Remember that nice, noble sitting posture, whatever that means for you, however that feels for you. And we will have a practice time of about 20 minutes, and then we'll have a little time at the end for questions or sharing or whatever we need to do to wrap up and close. So make yourself comfortable and yet alert, awake, sitting like a mountain, serene, unmovable, noble. So there will be a sense of arriving into this moment, arriving into this place where you're sitting, arriving into whatever state of mind you might be in this evening, whatever physical state you might be in. And just being aware of your inner landscape, which is how the body feels, how the mind feels, how the heart feels. And also being aware of your outer landscape, the room around you, the air around you. Any sounds that might come and go as you sit like the mountain or that smooth ancient rock. And part of our awareness of the inner landscape includes the breath and that soft, quiet rhythm of breathing, whether it be in the belly, the solar plexus, or the soft, rhythmical movement of the chest and the rib cage. Or the movement of the breath at the nostrils. And once we find the breath in the body, we allow the attention to very softly, lightly touch the breath, something like the tip of that feather. Light touch, but a precise touch. Feeling the solidity and solidness, steadiness of the sitting body, the sitting posture. Serene and steady and calm as the mountain. And then that very precise tip of the feather touching the object of attention. Solidness and lightness, equanimity and concentration. And just as the breath arises and passes away with each in-breath and out-breath, arising and passing away, rising and falling. In the same way, there may be thoughts, mental formations that arise unbidden, uninvited, simply arising. And we briefly touch the tip of that feather of attention to the thought or thoughts and watch as they pass away. Arising and passing away. It's helpful not to become involved in the content of the thought or the thoughts, but simply to give them perhaps a one-word, simple label as we touch the tip of the feather. Maybe just simple label like worrying, worrying, or planning, planning. Obsessing, obsessing. Or perhaps simply, simplest of all, thinking, thinking. Just the tip, touch of the feather and a one-word label, and then watching the thought or the thoughts pass away. There might also be feeling states, emotions that arise. Sometimes sadness, happiness, calmness. Again, we just simply lightly touch the feeling state with awareness, perhaps one word label, and then let it pass away. Sometimes a feeling state is strong or long lasting, in which case we touch it again with the tip of the feather. As it passes away, we return the attention to the breath. And in the background, always underneath the arising and falling of breath and thoughts and feelings, underneath all of that momentary experience is solidness, the equanimity of the sitting posture in the body, in the sitting posture. If there are sounds around you coming and going, just noticing that, how they arise and fall away, rising and falling, exactly like the breath and the other parts of our experience in each moment. And sometimes a dullness comes over us as we sit, kind of a sensation of sinking or becoming detached, not in touch with our present moment experience. Or it might be the opposite. It might be a restlessness which pulls us away from our experience, a restlessness that makes it difficult to attend to what is happening. In either of those cases, the dullness or the restlessness, we try to use the feather again, the tip of the feather, to lightly touch whatever is most prominent in our field of awareness at that exact moment, precisely touching that exact object, whether it's breath or sound or feeling or thought. So in a moment or two, you will hear the sound of the bell. You can simply allow that precise touch of awareness to attend to the sound. So you can let your eyes open as you feel ready and come back into connection with your visual experience of where you are, where you're sitting. Awareness of the other people, the other faces across the top of your screen, those that we've shared this practice with. And I think what we'll do is, again, kind of open up the floor. And if you want to say something or ask a question or share something about your experience, happy to hear whatever's on your mind or your heart. And you just need to unmute yourself down in the lower left corner there if you're ready to speak.